Hi there folks, Borislav247 here with another Days Gone video, and this video is all about the latest trailer that has just dropped from Bench Studio in regards to the new Horde Assault mode that is coming on the Days Gone remaster, which is due in under a fortnight now. Now, I have an awful lot of information on this particular Horde Assault mode now, which I want to share with everyone, but before I do that, let's just take a look at this bloody trailer because it is freaking amazing. Yes, I'm sure you'll all agree folks, that's one hell of a trailer. Bench Studio are pulling no punches when they were saying about the size of these hordes that you're going to be facing, that they are going to be increased. Now, they've never actually stated just how much they're going to be increased by, but judging by that trailer, oh my god, we're in for a hell of a battle. Especially one or two of the scenes. In fact, one where you just see hundreds of freakers coming through Marion Forks, that really was a sight to behold, and that is probably one of the reputation phases, which I'll explain a little bit more about later on. But anyways, I've got one or two things up on screen, and I'm going to start with these. The first thing to point out is that the battles take place in only 4 regions of Days Gone. And this really surprised me when I first heard this, because there is 6 regions in Days Gone, and I was really hoping to see battles in all of these. But just going off the trailer, I can confirm straight away that these 4 regions are going to be Cascade, Belknap, Lost Lake, and the last one really surprised me, Crater Lake. That one in particular is going to be a really difficult region in order to get successful fights, because unlike the other 3 regions where you have an awful lot of buildings, an awful lot of high points and areas where you can lead the Horde a merry dance, Crater Lake's not really quite like that, or certainly not in the northern sections of Crater Lake. But anyways, we will see how it all plays out once we actually get this mode to play in just under a fortnight. But moving on to the next point, there is apparently 6 new characters that can be unlocked by playing this particular mode. And 3 of these characters have already been confirmed. These 3 are O'Brien, Lisa, and of course Schizo. Schizo you actually see in the trailer anyway, so that one wasn't exactly a big reveal. But the other 3 characters, well, we can only speculate as to who they will be. Me personally, I'd like to see Tucker as one of the characters. Not that I would actually use her in a battle. I would pick her very briefly, but just so that I could have a run at the biggest horde possible and just watch them tear her limb from limb. Just a personal opinion. I just never liked the character in Days Gone, but do you know what? Have some entertainment value if you were using Tucker on one of these battles. So, but we'll see how all that plays out. Okay, moving on to some other things that I want to explain about this particular mode, and I'll go to a different screen so that I can actually explain what is being shown on screen. Right then, I've taken a photo from a battle at Cascade here, as it has a lot of information on screen that I can talk about. And the first one is straight away to do with the score that is on screen. Now that is on the top middle section here. You can see on this particular photo that it's sitting at 980,000, but if you're actually watching the trailer, you will notice that there is no multiplier in place whatsoever, which is unusual given that the Days Gone challenges, where they feature endless hordes, all have a multiplier in place. Now, I will get into more detail about potential multipliers, because they do have a multiplier system of sorts, but it works differently. And I've got to admit, after seeing it, I think it sounds amazing how they're going about it. But for the time being, I'm just going to go off what I'm showing on screen here. Below the score that is up there, 980,000, you've got a target score. This target score is what you are required to get in order to get an extra bonus at the very end of the region battle. If you get over that particular target score, yes, you will get something a bit special. They haven't said exactly what it is, but it will be something extra special on top of what you already will get, because over the course of a region battle, you're going to move up levels. You will have hordes of various sizes, and they will get larger and larger. Now, below that target score, you can see a timer. It's currently sitting at 24 minutes and 29 seconds. So Deke at this point is doing rather well. And I say that for good reason, because over the course of these region battles, your main focus is to survive for 30 minutes. Now, if you manage to survive for 30 minutes, all of a sudden the game apparently goes to the reputation phase. And this is when you will start getting an endless amount of enemies. Now, that could be freakers, swarmers, breakers. We don't quite know what that's going to entail. I would imagine it will be different from region to region. Now, speaking of region to region, they don't specify exactly what happens at the start of every region battle, but they have given us an insight into the very first one when you start on Cascade, because apparently you're going to start with a sidearm only, and no bike, by the way, at this point. And the idea is that you have to battle your way through the first waves of freakers in order to get to your bike. And from there, you have a little bit more room to move around the region. And this will help you very nicely in finding supply boxes, because there is a great number of them scattered around each region. And in each of these containers, there are weapons. Now, this is a really interesting thing, because if you happen to die in one of your runs, you might be thinking the next time that you start a new game, no problem, I now know where the boxes are that have a particular weapon. I'll go there, I'll start off well. Well, it's not going to work like that, because although it's highly likely that the containers will be in the same positions, it's completely random what they're going to have in them every time. So that just really takes it to another level. And I absolutely love this, because it's just going to make it so addictive to play. You just don't... Every battle is going to play out completely different depending on what you open up every time. Now, as well as this, they have also mentioned about side jobs. Now, these side jobs apparently will earn you extra EXP, and they will provide rewards. The biggest rewards, by the sound of this, are going to be along the lines of extra ammo for the weapons that you're carrying, because you do not have an endless supply of ammunition. And you can see on the top left of the screen here what looks like a perfect example of a side job. You're required to kill 10 swarmers using Molotovs, which, given the size of this lot, shouldn't fucking take too long. But you actually have to have a Molotov in your possession, of course, in order to do this. And given that it's saying 0 of 10 here right now, we're guessing that Deke doesn't have that in his possession. So, yeah, another thing that's going to make these very interesting indeed. Now, speaking of interesting, Bench Studio have added another level to these battles, which is really quite ingenious. I love what they've actually done here. So I'm going to bring up another screen to show this in more detail. Now then, during the trailer, Ben Studio did bring up on screen at one point about modifier run. This was when the crazy amount of freakers were heading through Marion Forks. What they were referring to is these injectors. And these are fan-bloody-tastic. As you start going through the game, you will start going up in levels depending on how much XP you earn. And as your level goes up, you start to unlock these injectors. Now, there are 24 injectors in total. 12 of these are positive and 12 of these are negative. But trust me when I say the negative ones, certainly for me, are far more appealing, because the positive ones will help everybody out in various ways, depending on what the injector actually is. The first one that they're showing here is, sounds fantastic, unlimited fuel, but it does come at a cost. Because when the battle is finally over, you are going to lose 10% of your final score as a penalty. And there are, depending on what these other ones are, because you don't see that many of them throughout the course of this trailer, but yes, they have various different penalties, and every one that I did see all seem to take a percentage of your final score. That's not to say that all 12 of these will do that, but that is what it's showing so far. But at the same time, obviously, you are going to get some sort of advantage. And the order in which they unlock is going to be from left to right on the top row, and then moving from the bottom section right along there. So the one next to the fuel tank, I can see what looks like a spanner. I'm assuming that's going to be something to do with maybe your bike will take less damage, or it will maybe take less scrap to fix it. You know, similar to Monkey Wrench that you have on Days Gone. And there's various other ones you can just hazard a guess as to what they might be. But for the gamers that are looking for the high scores, it's all about the negative injectors. And I'm going to bring up on screen right now a picture of what all that looks like and just talk a little bit about them. Right then, on to the negative injectors, and straight away I could see that Ben Studio aren't too generous in wanting to hand these out, because the very first negative injector requires you to get to level 4 before you can unlock it. And you can see here for this particular one, melee weapons break more easily. But you don't get a penalty when using these, you get a bonus. And in this case, they are going to add 10% to your final score, which is fantastic. But Ben Studio are being very secretive about the rest of these, because you don't see any other examples of negative injectors. But they did, in something that I read, actually tell about one of these injectors. And looking at the symbols that I can see there, it's probably going to be the very last one, which is the bottom right there. You can see it's a silhouette of somebody with the cross sights. And the particular negative injector that was being mentioned was called Wanted, which is why I heavily suspect it's going to be the last one. And what this Wanted injector is going to do is, at the very start of your battle, you move up straight away to the maximum heat level. Or, in other words, the escalation begins immediately. You don't get any gentle starts at all. It just goes full throttle right from the very start. So I would imagine you're just dealing with an endless enemy at the very start and at its maximum strength. But I'd love to see what the bonus is if you're using that. I would imagine it'll be pretty steep. Maybe a 50% bonus to your final score. But I'm really just speculating here, and time will tell to see exactly what will be given for all of these. And rest assured, once this remaster comes out, I will be looking to unlock all this lot sharpish, so that I can show in a video exactly what all this lot are. But there's also a little bit of mystery regarding these injectors, because we don't know For example, how many of these injectors are you allowed to use? When are you allowed to actually apply these injectors? Do you get to use them from the very start of a run, or does it maybe just come into effect after the first 30 minutes of the run when you're deemed to have unlocked the ultimate horde, which is an endless wave? All these questions definitely won't be answered now until the remaster is released and you find out for yourself. Now, that just about brings me to the end of this video, but there is one more piece of information that I want to add, and it is in relation to this particular Horde Assault mode. And it's all to do with the trophies, because there is one particular trophy that was kind of, well, sort of mysterious, that mentioned about something that is very precious to Deke that needs to be found. Now, I don't want to give away too much in the way of spoilers, but it is something related to the bike. Well, it just so happens that one of the very last bonuses that you get on this particular mode is something to do with the bike. I would imagine that these two pieces of information are linked. Which kind of sucks, because I was really hoping for a few extra missions in the main Days Gone game, but I don't think we're going to get that now. I think that's where this particular thing that is valuable to Deke, I think that's where it's going to come from. It's going to be one of these end bonuses. But that's it, folks. That is all the information I have on this fantastic looking mode that is coming very soon. All I can say is thank you so much for watching, folks. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Take care.